Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving into something today, something that I think we can all relate to,
Mm-hmm.
no matter where we are in our financial journeys.
Yeah.
Breaking those pesky bad money habits.
Yeah, for sure.
And we are taking our cues from a popular YouTube video by Nisha,
Okay.
who is a finance whiz with a background in investment banking.
Oh, wow.
She really lays out some surprising things we might be doing wrong without even realizing it.
Yeah. It's funny how those things can just become so ingrained in our behavior we don't even question them, but they
Right.
could be holding us back financially.
Exactly. Like, are you someone who pays everyone else before even thinking about your own savings? Or maybe you've gotten a little too comfy carrying debt.
Mm-hmm.
Or perhaps you think that saving is the only key to building wealth.
Right.
We're going to break down 9 of these habits today.
Wow.
And honestly, I was guilty of a few myself.
Yeah, let's jump right in.
Yeah.
The first one, and this is a big one, is the habit of paying yourself last. It's almost like we think, oh, if there's anything left over after bills, then I'll save.
Right. It's so ingrained in us.
Right.
But Robert Kiyosaki really challenged that thinking in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He argued that the wealthy view savings like any other essential expense.
Yeah, he called it paying yourself first. Instead of treating savings like an afterthought, you make it a priority.
Hmm.
Right off the bat, a portion of your income goes directly into savings, just like paying rent or utilities.
So Nisha recommends aiming for at least 10% of your income,
Okay.
which might sound kind of daunting, but even starting small and gradually increasing that percentage can make a huge difference over time.
It's about shifting your mindset to see saving as a non-negotiable part of your financial plan.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine getting your paycheck and immediately putting that 10% away.
Yeah.
You're essentially paying your future self before you even think about other expenses.
Yeah, that brings up a good point.
Okay.
What if those other expenses include a mountain of debt, which is our next bad habit?
Oh, yeah.
Nisha really hit the nail on the head about how normalized debt has become,
It's true.
even for small purchases.
Yeah, we've become so accustomed to whipping out credit cards for everything. The danger is we often don't even consider those mounting interest charges, especially on those harmless small purchases.
Exactly. We tell ourselves, it's just a coffee or it's only $5.
Right,
But those small swipes can really add up,
right,
and those interest charges can quickly snowball. And it's not just about the numbers.
right.
It's also the psychological effect of always feeling like you're playing catch-up.
That feeling of being weighed down can make it seem impossible to get ahead financially.
Right.
It's crucial to understand how that credit card interest really works. Think about it, if you're carrying a balance and only making the minimum payments, a good chunk of your money is just going toward interest, not actually reducing your debt.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
So what are some things that we can actually do about these first 2 habits? We'll get into those strategies in a bit. But first, let's talk about another bad habit that can make that debt situation even worse.
You're talking about the lack of an emergency fund, right?
Exactly. Nisha stresses the importance of having a financial cushion for unexpected events.
Hmm.
She recommends aiming for 6 months' worth of living expenses tucked away.
Okay.
Think of it as your financial safety net. If you suddenly lose your job or face a medical emergency, you have that buffer to fall back on
Yeah.
without resorting to high-interest credit cards or loans.
Right.
It's like that feeling of relief when you know you've got a spare tire in your car.
Right.
You might not need it every day,
Exactly.
but when you do, you're incredibly grateful it's there.
Let me share a quick story about a friend of mine.
Okay.
He lost his job unexpectedly a few years ago.
No.
He was stressed, of course.
Yeah.
But because he had diligently built up his emergency fund, he was able to cover his expenses while he searched for a new job
Wow.
without panicking or racking up debt.
Yeah.
That peace of mind is invaluable, especially during difficult times.
That's such a powerful example of how that emergency fund can provide not just financial security, but emotional well-being as well.
Right.
I think many of us can relate to that feeling of stress when unexpected expenses pop up.
Absolutely. Now let's move on to the fourth bad habit.
Okay.
Not tracking your income and expenses.
Oh, boy.
It's surprisingly easy to lose sight of where your money goes, especially in today's world of digital transactions and subscription services.
Yeah, Nisha referred to this as lifestyle inflation. You get a raise, you start treating yourself to nicer things, and before you know it, your expenses have ballooned. You're making more money, but you're not actually getting ahead financially.
It's a sneaky trap. We might be tempted to think I deserve this or it's just a little splurge, but those little splurges can add up and sabotage our long-term financial goals.
So what can we do to break free from this cycle of lifestyle inflation and gain control of our finances. What are some practical tips and tools we can use to track our income and expenses effectively? Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll dig into some actionable strategies. Welcome back to the deep dive. In part 1, we explored some eye-opening bad money habits, and now it's time to get practical.
Yes.
Talk solutions. We'll start by revisiting that first habit we discussed, paying yourself last.
Okay.
This one really resonated with me. I used to be guilty of this for years, but Rich Dad, Poor Dad really changed my perspective on savings.
The concept of paying yourself first can be a game changer. It's about making your savings a top priority,
Right.
just like any other essential bill, but how do we actually make it happen?
Right. It's easy to say pay yourself first, but putting it into practice can be a bit tricky,
Yeah.
especially when we're used to doing things the other way around.
One of the easiest and most effective ways to implement this strategy is by setting up an automatic transfer. Many banks allow you to schedule recurring transfers from your checking account to your savings account.
So you can literally set it and forget it.
Exactly.
And even if you'd only start with a small amount, like $20 or $50 per paycheck,
Right.
it's still a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. The key is to build the habit and gradually increase that amount as your income grows or your expenses decrease. Remember, consistency is key when it comes to saving.
Now let's tackle the second bad habit we discussed, getting comfortable with bad debt. This one can feel especially challenging in a world where credit cards are so readily available and often encouraged.
It's true, we're constantly bombarded with messages to spend now, pay later, but it's crucial to be mindful of the potential consequences of relying too heavily on credit.
So how can we break free from that cycle of debt accumulation? What are some practical steps we can take to get our credit card usage under control?
It starts with awareness.
Okay.
Take a close look at your spending patterns. Are you using credit cards for convenience, or are you relying on them because you can't afford to pay with cash?
That's such a great question to ask ourselves. It's easy to justify those small purchases,
Right.
but those charges can quickly add up.
Exactly. If you find yourself consistently reaching for your credit card for everyday expenses, it might be a sign that you need to reevaluate your budget and spending habits.
And speaking of budgets, creating a realistic budget is essential for managing your finances effectively and avoiding debt. It allows you to track your income and expenses, identify areas where you might be overspending, and allocate your money toward your financial goals.
Think of your budget as a roadmap for your financial journey.
Okay.
It helps you make conscious spending choices and prioritize what matters most.
Now, the third bad habit we discussed was not having an emergency fund.
Right.
Nisha's advice on having 6 months of living expenses saved up might seem daunting, especially if you're starting from scratch.
It's understandable to feel overwhelmed by that number, but remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You don't have to build your entire emergency fund overnight.
So what's a manageable approach to building up that emergency fund?
Start small and be consistent.
Okay.
Even if it's just $10 or $20 per week, set up a dedicated savings account specifically for your emergency fund. You can even automate those transfers, just like we discussed with paying yourself first.
I love the idea of automating those savings transfers. It makes it so much easier to stay on track and avoid the temptation to spend that money elsewhere.
And as your income increases or you find ways to reduce your expenses, you can gradually increase those contributions to your emergency fund. Before you know it, you'll have a solid financial cushion to help you weather those unexpected storms.
Now let's move on to the fourth bad habit, which ties in nicely with what we've been discussing, not tracking your income and expenses. This was a big aha moment for me when I first started learning about personal finance.
It's amazing how much we can learn about our financial habits simply by tracking where our money goes. It can be eye-opening to see those recurring subscriptions or those little treat-yourself purchases add up over time.
So what are some practical tips for getting a handle on our finances and breaking this habit of not tracking our income and expenses?
Luckily, there are so many great tools available to help with this,
Yeah.
from budgeting apps to good old-fashioned spreadsheets.
Those budgeting apps can be lifesavers.
Right.
Many of them connect to your bank accounts and automatically categorize your spending. It takes all the guesswork out of tracking your finances.
And if you're more of a visual person, a spreadsheet can be a great way to create a customized budget and track your progress over time.
The key is finding a system that works for you and sticking with it.
Absolutely. It's about making tracking your income and expenses a regular part of your financial routine.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about the fifth bad habit, expensive hobbies. Nisha mentioned this in her video, and it made me think about how much our passions can impact our finances for better or worse.
It's true, we all have things we love to do, but sometimes those hobbies can come with a hefty price tag.
So how can we strike a balance between enjoying our passions and staying within our budget?
One approach is to explore more cost-effective ways to enjoy your hobbies. For example, if you'd love to travel, perhaps you can consider staycations or explore destinations that are closer to home.
Right, or if you're a foodie who loves dining out, maybe you can try recreating some of your favorite restaurant dishes at home.
And if you're looking for a way to turn your passion into profit, you could even consider turning your hobby into a side hustle.
I love that idea. For instance, if you're a talented baker, maybe you could start selling your treats at local farmers markets or online. Or if you're a fitness enthusiast, perhaps you could offer personal training sessions.
It's a win-win situation. You get to do something you love, and you can potentially earn some extra income.
Now let's revisit the sixth bad habit, which is closely related to the idea of turning your passions into profit, focusing only on saving, not earning.
This is a crucial point that Nisha emphasized. Building wealth isn't just about saving money. It's also about increasing your income.
She referred to it as the two sides of the equation.
Exactly. You can't achieve significant financial progress by simply pinching pennies. You also need to explore ways to boost your earning potential.
So how can we put this into practice? It's easy to say get a raise or start a side hustle, but where do we even begin?
A great starting point is identifying your skills and interests.
Okay.
What are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? Once you have a clear understanding of your strengths and passions, you can start exploring opportunities that align with them.
You're right. It's about finding that sweet spot where your skills and interests intersect with market demand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For example, if you're a skilled writer with a passion for technology, maybe you could explore freelance writing opportunities in the tech industry.
Or if you're a people person who loves helping others, perhaps you could consider a career in coaching or counseling.
The possibilities are endless. The key is to be proactive and explore different avenues for increasing your income.
Now let's move on to the seventh bad habit, which can be a bit of a sensitive topic, paying too much in taxes.
Nietzsche touched on the importance of understanding tax rules and potentially reducing your tax bill legally.
Right, and this isn't about trying to cheat the system or avoid paying your fair share. It's about being informed and utilizing legal strategies to optimize your tax liability.
Exactly. For example, many people aren't aware of the various deductions and credits that they might be eligible for.
So where can we find reliable information on tax optimization strategies? It can be a bit overwhelming to navigate the complexities of the tax code.
A great starting point is the IRS website. They have a wealth of information on tax laws and regulations.
And there are also reputable financial publications and websites that offer guidance on tax planning.
And if you're looking for personalized advice, consulting with a tax advisor can be incredibly valuable.
Now, the eighth bad habit we discussed was waiting too long to invest. I think many of us can relate to that feeling of intimidation when it comes to the world of investing.
It's true, investing can seem complex and risky, especially if you're not familiar with the different investment options available.
So what's the best way to overcome that fear and get started?
Education is key. There are tons of resources available online through financial institutions and even at your local library that can help you understand the basics of investing.
And you don't need a huge sum of money to get started. Many investment platforms allow you to invest with small amounts, even as little as $5 or $10.
That's right. The most important thing is to take that first step and start investing, even if it's with a small amount.
And remember, the earlier you start investing, the more time you have for your money to grow through the power of compounding.
Exactly. Time is your greatest asset when it comes to investing.
Now, the final bad habit we discussed, and perhaps the most important one, is giving up too easily. Building wealth takes time, effort, and consistency. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme.
Right.
So how can we stay motivated on our financial journey, even when we encounter setbacks or face challenges?
It's crucial to remember your why. What are your financial goals? What do you want to achieve? Keeping those goals top of mind can help you stay focused and motivated when things get tough.
And don't underestimate the power of celebration. Acknowledge and celebrate your wins, no matter how small they may seem.
The small wins can add up to significant progress over time.
Now, listener, we've covered a lot of ground in this segment, exploring practical strategies for breaking free from those bad money habits. In our final segment, we'll leave you with some inspiring words and a challenge to help you put these insights into action. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've spent this episode unpacking these 9 common bad money habits, And more importantly, we've explored some actionable strategies to break free from them.
It's been a journey of insights
Yeah.
and practical tips.
Yeah.
And now, as we wrap up, we want to leave you with a challenge
Okay.
to help you turn this knowledge into real financial progress.
I love a good challenge. So what's the challenge for
Yeah.
our listeners today?
Think back to those 9 habits we discussed. Which one resonated with you the most? Which one do you feel is holding you back the most from achieving your financial goals?
We all have our financial blind spots, right?
Right.
Those habits that sneak up on us and sabotage our best intentions.
Once you've identified that habit, the challenge is to take one specific action, no matter how small, today, to start breaking free from it.
It's about taking that first step, no matter how small,
Right.
and building momentum from there.
Exactly. What could that action be? Well, if you struggle with paying yourself last, maybe it's setting up that automatic transfer to your savings account
Right.
that we talked about. Or if you're trying to break free from the grip of bad debt, maybe it's taking a close look at your credit card statements and creating a plan to pay down those balances if you're lacking an emergency fund. Maybe it's transferring even a small amount, say $10 or $20, into a dedicated savings account. And if you're not tracking your income and expenses, maybe it's downloading a budgeting app or setting up a simple spreadsheet to start monitoring your cash flow.
The key is to choose one action, something manageable that you can do right now and commit to it.
It's about taking that knowledge we've discussed
Right.
and turning it into positive action.
Remember, financial progress isn't about overnight transformations. It's about making small, consistent changes that add up to big results over time.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Every journey starts with a single step.
So listener, what will your first step be? Choose one action, take it today, and keep that momentum going.
You have the power to shape your financial future.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time for another insightful exploration.
Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.